Let me just introduce you quickly because yesterday some participants were not too happy that I didn't introduce Dr. Tio to them. Bear with me. So Mr. Ayodeji Ebo is not new to the Finance Coach BK platform. He has been our guest on our periodic and what I call it monthly money talks, and he's also taught on the during the annual workshops in the past. Thank you so much, Pastor Ayo, for doing this with us. I know how busy you are, and we're always appreciative that you're able to schedule time to be with us. Mr. Ayodeji Ebo is currently the managing director of Optimus, the digital platform powered by AfriInvest West Africa Limited. He has over 16 years of experience in business and investment strategy and economic and investment research. Before joining AfriInvest, he was the head of retail investment at Chapel Hill, Denham, as well as the senior economist at Greenwich Merchant Bank. Mr. Ayodeji was the managing director of AfriInvest Securities Limited, a leading licensed broker, dealer, and subsidiary of AfriInvest West Africa Limited for about 4 years. Prior to his appointment as MD, he led the investment research team and worked in the investment banking division. If you go to our website, you will see Pastor Ayo's profile. It's loaded. Pastor Ayo has qualifications in Nigeria, in UK, and in Canada, and he has experience as an economist, accountant, and all of that. So please go read more about him. I want to give him all his time now because all right, we don't have so much time. Thank you so much. Yeah. You're welcome, sir. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. Thank you for the good job you are doing. This is a major gap in Nigeria that that a lot of people need guidance on. And thanks for, sorry, I'm trying to see, okay, yeah. And thanks for inviting me to be part of this. Sorry. Yeah, I think, can you see my full screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We can.
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Charity. I really enjoyed your session. You've made my work very easy. You've laid a very strong background, and the simplicity is also what I really admire. So I would come in after a doctor. That's a lot of work. So I will try to also be as simple as possible. Thank you very much, Ma. Well done. Yeah, so I think I thought what I've been asked to discuss is the investment strategies that we should adopt when investing. And in this session, based on given what has been discussed at the last session, we would spend more time and looking at the different investment options across the different asset classes. And yeah, so that we can begin to take action, because I know that's what Pastor B would also be happy about that after this program, taking action, which is by investing, beginning to save and begin to invest. So, but I thought it's always very good to understand some of these economic variables, like Dr. Charity just spoke about that. Like when you're investing, you can't just invest and you don't monitor. So it's important that you have to monitor most of these variables. So inflation is really very key. Even if you are reluctant to invest, inflation would forcefully teach you that you need to continue to optimize whatever return or income that you have with you. So I always like to put it this way. If you have 100,000 kept somewhere in the last 1 year and you have been procrastinating, that 100,000 is currently worth about 60-something thousand naira now. For not doing anything, taking any action. But if you have taken action, even if you are not able to make it still be at the 100,000 naira. You would have reduced the gap. Like when we look at the different investment options. So if I have an investment that can give me 20%, which means that I can get 20,000 naira, it means that with the 60,000 naira, that inflation would have brought the value of my investment to 60,000. But I've taken action by investing, then I've earned 20,000. It means that, yes, I may not have been able to cover inflation based on my investment. The real value of my investment may not be at the same level or have improved. But when you look at it, because you have taken action, you would be at a level of 80,000 naira compared to someone that has been procrastinating and be lamenting that the inflation rate is high and is not taking any action, or is looking for investments that can cover inflation. So that is important that you monitor that on a monthly. It is published on a monthly basis. The GDP, which just shows how the economy is improving. Yes, it shows that we are growing at 3.2%, but we are all aware that this is not the optimal level that we should grow as a developing economy. So it means that our growth is not inclusive. It means that as it seems as we are growing, but a lot of people are not feeling the impact, which should also prompt you to see what can you do to improve your own GDP. I'll say your own personal GDP, which is the different activities you may want to involve to increase your income. Because you know why I like to always start with this is that if I just go into the investments, if you don't see the reason why you need to start now, then we would be wasting our time. There's the monetary policy rates, which we call the benchmark rate. All other interest rate tracks it. In recent time, it has been effective compared to the last before the last 2 years. So we've seen the savings rate, which is the rate that you get on your savings. CBN has pegged it at 30% of MPR. And for most of the banks, it is if you don't withdraw more than 4 times in a month, that you are still able to get that you are still able to receive the full interest on that investment. Most people don't get it, and most people even have their investment in current account. Secondly, the lending rate. So if you have also borrowed, you would see that lending rate in Nigeria is mostly floating. When we say floating, it means that it can be adjusted. If you have borrowed at 20%, and it's for 5 years, the bank, if you check the clause well, they have the liberty to tell you that from next month, it's no longer 20% per annum. It is now 22% per annum because of the MPR that have increased, which is so a lot of interest rate, we call it the reference rates. Whatever happens, in the US, you have what we call the Fed rate, which we're all expecting that this month, the Fed would be cutting the rates. Market is expecting 0.25%, but if we see a 0.5%, it has direct impact on stocks because the rate at which people borrow will go down. Same thing in Nigeria. When interest rate is very low, you would see, I will speak like an economics now, all other factors being held constant, you would see that the stock market would perform positively well because people will be looking for a way they can cover the gap, the inflation gap. And the last one here is exchange rates. I always say is the elephant in the room. This one affects everybody, especially even if you are, except those that are abroad, sending money home is positive for them. But at least the people that have left behind, it's not positive for them because everything is import dependent and would impact. So with exchange rate, it means that as a new investor, as a veteran investor, or you are just upcoming investor, you cannot afford to have all your investment in Naira. So if you look at this year alone, if you have not even done, if you are in quotes, you don't like investing, you have just converted your money to dollars beginning of this year, you will be up more than 100%. So this is, I'm not saying we all go and convert our money to dollars, but the emphasis here is that you can't afford to have all your money in Naira, especially for those that are planning, you want to go to school abroad, you are saving for your kids. You can't be saving, we call it mismatch in finance. You can't be saving in Naira to finance your school fees that will be in dollars. So you need to start, whether it's $50 every month you want to be saving. So you would imagine in Nigeria, and it's good to emphasize this, solving our FX problem as not, there's even no blueprint to solve it. So we should not expect that there would be a major appreciation in the near term. So if you are planning 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, with our high inflation rate, there's what we call this interest rate parity. With our high inflation rate, high interest rates, our exchange rate is supposed to be devaluing by a certain amount every year. It's not like what we saw in the last 2 years. What led to that was because we held it at a certain level. So that is it important that you begin to look at that. Save, there are platforms that enables you to save as low as $10 every month, $5 every month. Before you know it, you will build it up. So imagine $5 every month is $60 every year. $10 every month, $10 every month is $120. So that's how people build up investments. So with this background, I will just look at, I will spend much time on some of these things. Dr. Charity, I think, also touched on them, especially from a stock perspective. So I would also now look at it from looking at different forms of investment. So when you look at the value investing, it means that you are only interested in, I would say, what has already, companies that are already made. You already seen them, they've tested different periods and they've continued to stand. What I would say is that some of these companies, they always appear very expensive, especially from the stock, but there is always opportunity. What you should look out for, I like the way she put it, when you look out for the news, when you look out for news that would enable their share price, sometimes when those negative news come out, their share price comes down significantly, then you take advantage. You see Tesla, for instance, last 2 months was still trading at almost $140 because it crashed for almost 300 to almost 140 because of 1 or 2 news that came out. So those are the period you take advantage of value investing. Or even if you don't want to follow the news, those ones you already know they are leaders in the sector. So you want to invest in them, value investing. For growth, it's high risk, but we say high risk, high reward. They have the potential to deliver a lot of return, but you are taking a lot of risk. Sometimes you know, there's a factor of risk in any, no matter how certain you are about a business, there's a factor of risk. But in the US, because of their disclosure level, sometimes you are able to monitor, but you need time. They're able to tell you they've just purchased this plant at VI, for instance, and is expected to begin to deliver within the next 1 year. We get those kind of information abroad. We're hoping, like I tweeted yesterday, Nigeria, we don't know. We only see figures. We don't know when things begin to happen, whether when they acquire, only a few of them that would tell you during their annual reporting. That's growth investing. And when we talk about income investing, it means that you want to be getting cash flow, which is almost, sometimes we can say, like dividend investing. But when we also get to fixed income, there are some fixed income that can pay you interest at the beginning of their investment. There are some that pays you every month. There are some that pays you every quarter. There are some that pays you every 6 months, and some is at the end of maturity. So depending on how your investment need is, you are going to structure. So why we are here about investing is you need to structure a portfolio. When we say a portfolio, is having different asset classes. This one pays you dividend this month. This one pays you interest based on your investments. This one pays capital gains, maybe when you sell the assets. You need to have that because it's been proven that the economy is in cycles. So when one sector seems to be doing well, another sector may be down. So at the end of the day, instead of if you are in one particular form of investment, when that sector is down. So I would say for fixed income, less than even a year ago, Treasury bills was trading as low as 4% for 1 year. Currently, you can get as high as 25%, or let's say maybe 24% now on the investment. So if you have locked in all your investments, you should be locking in investments at high rates in Treasury bills, because this high interest rate will not last for long. So rates we've saw within the last 2 or 3 auctions, which is where the cost of time, where the auction or they sell Treasury bills, trying to see how I can simplify it, where they come and people come and bid, this is the rate at which I want to buy Treasury bills from the government. And people put different rates, and governments will also look at what's affordable to buy it in. So for those that have been buying, it went as high as almost 24%. And my advice there, I've been telling people, go and buy 364 days. Even personally, all my investments are in 364 days. So now that interest rates have come down, it doesn't affect me. But if you have bought 90 days because you don't want to lock it for long, depending on the need of the cash. Now, if you are going to reinvest in the 90 days, you will be reinvesting lower. We call it reinvestment risk. So would also see FGN savings bond. I will discuss that in details. That as low as 5,000 naira. The interest rate as high as 17, 18%. That same bond was as low as 6, 7% last year. So this is the time that you want to lock in your investment for 3 years at 18%. When it's next year, rate comes to 5%, you will just be smiling. And you if we put the people say, what's the secret of this your smile? Why you say God is the secret, but they would not know that God has also helped you to make some informed decision, that you are earning 18% on your investment, while some are earning 5% on their investment. You can see this is, you can go to the CBN website. These are real life situation that it's advantage to lock it in. When interest rate drops, you look for other investments that you can take advantage of, and that's why it's going to be in cycle. Index investing, for those you don't have the time, this in the index is like a basket. Dr. Charity spoke about NSE 30. That means 30 large cap, the most capitalized stocks and the most liquid stocks are inside that basket. I don't want to be concerned about I want to monitor Zenith, GT. Once I buy that index, whatever happens to the 30 stocks. But you know, the interesting thing about it, when you invest there, is that if First Bank is not doing well, for instance, and GT is doing well, your portfolio will be normalized. You may not gain as much as those people that maybe out of 1 or 2, they are lucky that is gaining 50%, 60%. But you would move with the trend of the market. When you look at the US market too, you also see what we call the Vanguard 500 that captures the top 500 companies in the US. You know, in the US, they have close to almost 10,000 stocks listed. You have those that capture that are within the AI region, within the technology region, different sectors. So you feel that this sector will be performing well next year. You can just invest in that sector rather than trying to x-ray which of them will perform well. It helps you to minimize the stock. There's the one KQQ 100, the top 500 stocks. So that index we call it passive, but it also helps. Then lastly here is dollar cost averaging, or you want to call it cost averaging, whether it's Naira and dollar. You know, one of the most difficult things for an investor, especially for stock investor, is timing the market. It's always very tough. Yes, some may get so excited. Yes, I'm an expert. I was able to time it, but you may not know if a stock is coming down, maybe from 10 naira, for instance. You don't know, maybe it will turn when it gets to 4 naira. Nobody knows the exact time. Yes, technically, some are you are able to predict, but it doesn't work all the time. But when you dollar cost averaging, it means that you can begin to set funds aside on a periodic basis. And I've done this consistently. Okay, I've not been consistent this year, but the last 11 years plus, 10 years, 11 years for my kids, every month I set something aside. When I look at their portfolio, it's more than 100%. This is Nigerian markets, not even stock market. Fidelity, then I was buying at 2 naira plus. That same stock that did offer at almost 10 naira. Nestle then at almost 800. These are not recommendations because you don't know the exact period but because it was every month, then there was a period when there was a serious crash. Then I increased the amount that period just to take advantage of it for their portfolios. So started with something so little, things that you can even give out. In the stock market now, there are platforms, especially in Nigerian markets, even the US market, with $1, you can start investing. We call it fractional shares. It means you can own 0.00%. Some of these things, I'm already covering it in some of the slides, so I'll be able to save a bit of time. You can buy 0.001% of Apple shares. When they pay dividend, you get 0.001% of their dividend. For Nigerian stocks, with $10, 10 naira, you can buy one share. So there is no excuse for you not to start investing now. Whether as a student, you can start, whether every month, you can say it's 1,000 naira I want to be putting in the stock market. Before you know it, that same 1,000 you imagine those that invested 2 months ago in Owando. That stock was as low as 10 naira. It's almost 19 naira now in less than 2 months. Yes, those are like growth investing. They were underperforming for years. They were abandoned, but those that were willing to just put something at stake benefited within last 2 months and it's still going up. Yeah, so those are some of the things that the dollar cost averaging, you just consistently buy over a period of time. What are those factors that you need to consider? I think Dr. Charity has spoken about this. Your risk tolerance, time horizon, how long do you plan to invest before you need the money? You don't go and put, emergency, there's what we call the emergency funds, savings. You don't go and put it in real estate. You may not be able to sell the real estate. Perfecting the documents, searching for the documents may even take time. So you need to understand that. What are you saving towards? Is it your school fees you are trying to save towards? Is it a house you are saving towards? Is it your kids' school fees? You need to understand your rent to buy a car. That would also determine what type of investment you want to do. You don't want to go and put your house rent in the stock market. Sadly, if you try that, you may sleep outside. It's a 50-50. And you will only, your landlord, on a lighter note, will not accept your stock portfolio, waiting for it to rise. So you need a safe investment, even if the return is not much, but you need to first of all protect that. It's really very important how you're saving. Then the knowledge is key, which that's why I appreciate Pastor B for this that is doing. Sometimes for me, I look back and I wish when I was young, I was open to some of these things. I would have also invested better. And that's why I'm passionate about this, that young people, as they come up, let them learn it and they can be able to build wealth better. So you need to understand, you need to read, like the way young people like social media. You also need to follow people like Dr. Charity, they invest, they will give you tips, you learn from their wealth of experience. So you don't want to go through some of the things they went through to learn some of these things. You need to follow it. You see, Pastor B, there are quotes that comes every Monday. Yeah, and she brings a lot of people to discuss about investment. You need that knowledge. Follow website like Nairametrics to know. You don't want to be holding a stock when they say they want to delist, and you need to even know what price are they delisting. Or like she said, if the management is having issues, see what happened over the weekend on MTN. They had to do a report when the MD was accused of something. That would have impacted on the share price. If you are just there, you are still holding MTN. MTN is a value stock for those that are patient. This is not a recommendation, but if I'm the one investing, I'll be buying MTN now because their only problem is the FX challenge, which is the reporting. Once that FX translation is out, they are back into the money and they start paying good dividend. I'm not making a recommendation because as a professional, but if I'm the one investing, I would be also adding MTN to my long-term portfolio. It is not when their results turns positive. Most of those companies that are bleeding because of FX, what you check is their business model. Are they still making money? You see Nestle, shareholders fund has been eroded, but when you check their turnover has continued to grow because no matter how hard the economy is, they push all the costs to the consumer and they continue to make money. So those are some of the tips that you need to take into consideration. So now we are going proper into investing. Speaking about your age, you also determine, I think Dr. Charity also spoke about this. Let me manage the time. So some of the investment options, I mentioned a portfolio. It means you're having, based on your risk appetite. If you are the type, if you buy a stock at 10 Naira and it comes to 8 Naira the second day, and you would have to be calling your broker, what can we do now? What's happening? My money, I'm losing money. Or you cannot sleep, or your BP is high. There's no need going into stocks. It's not meant for you. That same stock that's from 10 that has gone to 8 Naira can also be 20 Naira. But for those that understand it and also have that mindset, you have to be patient with the market. So you need to understand yourself so that you don't have to be calling for meetings with your friends, what is happening, how my money is in this. But you need to understand what you are investing in. The fixed income, which is where I would spend a bit of time here, treasury bills, for instance. Treasury bills is you are lending money to the government. I know people don't like hearing this government, I don't trust them. But because treasury bills is in Naira, it is almost impossible. It is almost impossible for government to default. They can print money. We can argue about inflation, but they can always print money to pay, or they issue new bills and just elongate and roll over the pending ones. Treasury bills is a discounted instrument. It means that you give a certain amount. If your face value is 1 million, what you are investing now would be around 900,000, assuming it's 10%. So it means that you have that 100,000 Naira opportunity upfront that you may want to collect. And at maturity, you have 1 million Naira. Even if it's 100, there are firms that I know minimum they do now is 100,000 Naira. So you would see, and there are even fintech platforms that allows you to invest as low as 10,000 Naira now. So you can also take advantage of treasury bills. The maturity is between 7 days and 364 days maximum. Is a short-term instrument. Commercial paper has the same similarities with treasury bills, but this one you are lending money to the corporate organizations. So you are lending more, just like the way not everybody that would approach you that come and borrow me money, that you would give money. You would ask, you want to check. If Ayo comes to you and say, borrow me 1 million Naira, you first ask, do you think Ayo can pay back? Do you think he has the capacity, the credibility to pay back? These are some of the questions you would ask. And that is that mindset I want you to go with for commercial papers. Don't just see commercial paper and go and put your money. What is the rating? We call it the credit rating. You need to understand that there's no time to look at what credit ratings are now. Which company, if Dangote Cement is issuing CPs, for instance, I mean, not need to ask much question, MTN, but there are some new names that I will need to ask. You won't just go and give their money just because the interest rate sounds more attractive than the ones you know their name. You have to be very careful of that. Placement, most of us are used to that. You just fix your money, get a certain rate. But you know, placement, there's what we call withholding tax. So what you're actually getting, if they tell you the rate is 10%, just using your calculator, just multiply that interest rate by 0.9. So if it's 10%, it means what you actually get on a net basis is 9%. If it's 20%, what you're actually getting when you look at it, we use 0.9, 20% times 0.9, that means it's 18%. So you would be able to know this is the exact amount and be able to compare. FGN, corporate bonds are long-term instruments. Like I said, treasury bills, which is by the government, 7 days to 364 days. Bonds can be as 2 years to almost even 50 years. And they pay coupon every 6 months. So if you have invested 1 million in bonds, for instance, FGM bonds, or their minimum is high up there. For corporates, sometimes when they issue it can be 10 million in the primary market, secondary market can be 100 million. For government instruments, for FGN, minimum is 50 million in the primary market, and the secondary market is like 200 million. I will come to the one that is accessible to everyone. But this, they pay coupon every 6 months. So there was a client just about, I think about 6 or 7 years ago, got one major fund, works in an oil company, and got a major fund and said, oh, my kids are still small. Can I invest this money? Then maybe it was about maybe 50 million on. Can I get a bond of about 10 years or 15 years? And in rates then was maybe around 22, 23%, and invested in bonds. You will know there was a year yields on FGM bonds came to about 5%. She was getting a coupon every 6 months. It means that, and I like what she was doing, she was now reinvesting that coupon in treasury bills. But sometimes she may just decide, yeah, I'm not going to just come and keep myself. She will just she can spend the coupon because her principal is working for her. So you see some people, they plan their travel, they go on that trip, they don't travel with their main savings, they travel with the income on their savings. So if you are now trying to compare yourself, this family is traveling or this person is doing this, but they are using the income on their investments, you know, you can't compare the two. It means next year, that same is like a seed. That seed will still germinate and yield return for them. So those are some of the plans you may begin to have. We'll call it financial planning. That how much do I need to travel? If it's 5 million every year, can I have an investment and build it up to a level that that investment is paying for the travels of my family? And you may want to do it in dollars, given the impact of the exchange rate. So, and lastly, FGN savings bond. FGN savings bond is also a government instrument and is, we'll say, almost risk-free. Because it's in Naira, government will also be able to repay. They started there about 4 years ago so that everyone would also have access. We won't be looking at bonds from far. Oh, it's for the rich, it's for those that can afford it. Minimum is 5,000 Naira and it opens every month. So you can, what that tells you is that you can plan and say, I want to be saving every month 5,000 Naira. I want to be saving 10,000 Naira, 1 million Naira. You know, it's based on your capacity. We say no amount is too small. It is about when you start. But when you start now, when your income increase, because you have built that discipline you would increase what you would invest. But if you have not built this discipline, that is when you say you are using your from Lexus and 350, you want to move to 460, you want to move to 5, you would, new things will keep coming. But once you understand that, you may plan that, yes, I would, this Lexus, I like it, I would buy it. But can I get an investment that will yield the return that can help me get this type of car? So for savings, one interesting thing about savings bond is that it pays the interest for every 3 months. So if you have put 100,000 in FGN savings bond and the interest rate is 17%, that means that you are entitled to 17,000 naira. Divide that 17,000 naira divided by 4. It means every month. But there was something I tried, that was a long time ago. I was investing in it every month. So it got to a time that every month there will be interest that will be paid. So you can plan it. Every month the interest can be paid. And I always tell people, when you buy FGN savings bond, don't use your normal operations account where you have ATM to it, so that you can, what we call compounding, which I think we mentioned, we have learned in this course. Compounding, letting your interest earn interest. So the interest they pay you for that quarter, you can add it to what you want to invest for that month. Before you know it, because of the compounding impact, you earn 1,000 naira interest. That 1,000 and 17%, that's 17 naira extra. It would increase. They may sound so small now, but it works like magic once you are consistent with it. So you can invest through stockbroking firms. And currently they've not digitalized it, so you can just you have to fill the form every month, or some people have done like a link, you fill it every month what you want to do, but you can be consistent about it. Now, one thing that these investments, what they do for us is that it also saves you from temptation. Yes, the Bible has said that they will not tempt us more than what we can accommodate, but we can also go in that line and help ourselves by resisting those temptations. So if I've put my money in T-bills, in FGN savings bond, and some needs that are not really pressing comes up, it takes much effort and much planning to go and terminate those investments. But I've seen people even borrowing funds that maybe you have 10 million somewhere, you're still procrastinating. By the time you touch it, you spend 1 million, someone comes to borrow 2 million, promise to pay you back, someone brings one business plan. Before you know it, you may not be able to account for it. So it saves you from trouble and it helps you to plan. Some of these investments, you can terminate them. But before you will go ahead to terminate your investments, it means it must have been properly planned and thought through. It is not based on emotions. So those are the things that it would also do for us. So she's spoken about stocks. I'm not going to speak much about this. Foreign stocks, we've been discussing that, how you invest in stocks. I'm going to share this on stock. That's why I started with fixed income, given that Dr. Charity has spoken a lot on stocks. Then why I try to wrap up on mutual funds. This is like a collective investment scheme. You don't want to bother yourself about how the investments are performing. But you need to bother yourself how the portfolio manager, because you are entrusting the performance to your portfolio manager. It's a collective investment scheme. The example I always use is that if you go alone to the bank with your 10,000 naira or your 100,000 naira, the interest you'll be given would be a certain rate. But if all of us, let's say 20 of us, 100 of us, go together, bring our 100,000 naira, we may have higher negotiating power that would also help us to earn higher interest rates than me going alone. So it works on teamwork, everybody coming together and agreeing, but you need to monitor the performance. It's good to note that interest on mutual funds or the return are not guaranteed. It is based on the performance of the asset classes. So you have mutual funds that are in Naira, invest in Naira, in fixed income, in equities. You need to, they are different. You need to understand, if someone says mutual fund, you need to ask what type of mutual funds. Then these are dollar investments. I think I've spoken about them. Insurance, you need to begin to always think about it. Don't spend money and buy a car of 20 million and you are struggling to insure it. Or you need to also think about life insurance. You need to look at house insurance. Is always very important. Annuity. These are different ways you can diversify. Trust is also very key. Education trust, setting it up for your kids. We don't pray for the unforeseen, but it says as you begin to accumulate things, you need to begin to also discuss about this. So just because of time, if you're also interested, there's the YouTube platform where I also post things on some of these. Try to break it down. I may not be as simple as Dr. Charity, but I also try my best to break it down. And on the YouTube page and Instagram that you can also follow. But I say thank you. So I try to just wrap this up so that we can focus much on questions. Thank you very much for this opportunity.